It was really cool to see such an outpouring of support from the community to make sure that even if my blog wasn't ranking as high as it was before, Inside the Square was not going to disappear.
Hello, entrepreneurs, nomads, digital designers, business gurus. Welcome to Circle Live, our internet talk show just for Squarespace Circle members. I am Sam Z, your senior community events manager, and I'm here with Sarah G.
Hi, I'm Sarah G. Last month, we talked to Haley Fetters of Studio Seaside about her process-based approach to building a site in a week. You can watch the replay video anytime on the new Squarespace Circle YouTube channel.
Like and subscribe. Today we're joined by Circle Live second timer Becca Harpain of InsideTheSquare. When we heard that she had a success story rising out of the sudden recent changes to internet search, we knew we had to bring her on to discuss. We'll also have her joining us live for an audience Q&A. But before we do that, we have a big month coming up.
Do we have a big month coming up? Circle Day?
Yeah, Circle Day. Circle Day. That's the one.
It.
That's the one. I know. But behind all the blur, there's a lot going on. There's so much to look forward to. I just want to spend a few minutes talking about the product keynote that kicks off Circle Day. Sarah, you've been pretty close to some of the updates that we've had for account save sections, Circle dashboard, lots of updates that are being made in direct response to Circle member requests and feedback. How has the feedback been to all of these updates?
Yeah, the feedback's been awesome. If you've been following along in the forum, I am super excited about everything that's launched and the way that we've been able to get feedback from our community in. One of the things you might have seen recently was we launched the new account dashboard, like you mentioned, but then just 2 days ago, we launched the ability to see how you've earned points along the way, which I know is super helpful and was super requested. So I was really glad we were able to get that out. Sam, is there anything else that you're able to tease for our viewers today?
Don't tempt me. While last week I did get a sneak preview of some of the products we're announcing at Circle Day, I can't share anything at this moment. All I can say is that Circle members are going to be psyched. So make sure you join us on September 17th so you don't miss out on any of the announcements. And if you're in a different time zone, we'll be replaying the product keynote as part of Circle Day World Loop Encores in Europe and Asia Pacific time zones. I'll be there for all three.
He does mean that. He will be there for all three. We're concerned, but I think it'll be worth it.
I don't like sleep. On a smaller scale, but no less important, I am also thrilled about the updates that we are bringing to today's Release Notes Live. Each week, our Release Notes email goes out to Circle members containing information about all the product and community updates you need to run successful Squarespace businesses. And in every episode of Circle Live, we dig deep into one of the items from a recent Release Notes. Today's product deep dive is a highly requested update to Squarespace Commerce. Let's have a look.
Hi, Circle. My name is Leah Walkevich, Staff Product Manager for Squarespace Commerce. Today, I'll show you the new styling options for the product block's quantity selector. On the Commerce team, our goal is simple: design experiences that help turn visitors into buyers. We know it's not just about flexibility and professionalism, it's about helping make sure your website clients can make the sale. These updates give you more control over a key part of the customer experience. Let's jump in. To access changes to the product block, you can go to the product block in the site editor and open up the editor. Within the Content tab, if you scroll down and toggle on the Add to Cart button, you'll see that the quantity selector has a new look and feel. You can control the look and feel of the quantity selector by going to your site styles, scrolling down to Forms, and selecting a different form pack. This gives you more control over how the product block looks. Exiting site styles, we can also toggle off the quantity selector. This is super useful for service products where a quantity selector may not make sense, or high-value items. Another experience that we considered when designing the quantity selector and the Add to Cart button in the product block is mobile optimization. I'm toggling on the Add to Cart button across all of my products to show you what it looks like on mobile. With these updates, the quantity selector is now stacked on top of the Add to Cart button, meaning that you can view multiple products in a single view on a small screen. Another exciting change that's coming soon is we are extending form styling to include the variant selector dropdown. In the next few weeks, we will allow you to apply form styles to the variant selector dropdown, which means that if a product in a product block has variants, it will match the quantity selector styling, giving you more control over this experience. And that's the new quantity selector. It's a small change, but just the start. We're investing heavily in commerce this year, so you'll see rapid improvements. Please keep the feedback coming in the feature request board.
And thank you to Leah Walkevich, our colleague, for sharing that update. For more product updates, Circle members can check out the news and announcements on the forum in the link that Taylor is sharing in the chat or in the show notes. And please make sure to watch your email for more release notes. So much good stuff in there. Now, Sarah, I'm going to hand it over to you for
a segment we call Circle Member Moments. Sound effects my own. We love hearing about your business wins, and every month we ask Circle Live viewers what their proudest moment was from the last month. Here are some of our favorite responses.
Starting with Alex W. says they are, quote, proud of building a business over the last 5 years where I could go on maternity leave and come back for a solid client base that's eager to pick their projects back up with me.
Congrats, Alexis. That is amazing. KDC says, I finally updated my own website and now it's unapologetically me.
Sorry, not sorry. Love this next one. Anthony M says, quote, I am an Aussie Becca Harpain Squarespace fanboy. I'll be asleep when you go live, but hopefully I'll get an email to the recording when I wake up.
That is not really a business win, but we do love the support. Marie Eve T says, I've started implementing structured data to help with SEO and AI overviews.
Marie, you're going to love today's conversation. Yan Q says, quote, signed my biggest project this year.
So mysterious. I hope we find out what it is in Circle Member Moments next month. Paul C says they won an old client back to rebuild a website for them.
Got to get back those win backs. Kessia C says, put an Instagram story up saying, let's get a coffee at Circle Day. I think that's what they said in the story. And I have a week full of coffee dates with new Squarespace friends.
Tender.
Wow, that's like immediate gratification. Sarah, you, speaking of posting about coffee, you posted about a coffee date today.
I did post about a coffee date this morning. The other week, I had the opportunity to talk to two Circle members on back-to-back calls. One who was talking about, presently getting all their clients on Upwork, but wanting to kind of move away from that, move into getting clients from word of mouth and other areas. And then immediately after, I talked to another community member who said, I used to get all my clients on Upwork, but now I don't at all. And I get them all through word of mouth and client referrals. And I put them in touch. And then one of them was in town in New York City, and they ended up having coffee and were able to help each other with their businesses. It was amazing.
Magical things can happen over coffee. I came into the office this morning early just so I could sit and have some coffee. And one of my colleagues, Hoyd, who some of you know from the forum, was just there getting coffee, sat down. We were able to have a little chat, lengthy chat. And it was just good. A reminder that it doesn't need to be, not everything needs to be a big, complicated, scheduled meeting. It can kind of just be a simple coffee chat. You can learn a lot of things that way.
Love that.
Now, before we get into our formal/informal meeting with Becca Harpain, let's break for this quick message.
Are you looking to monetize your content and earn more from your websites? Whether you're a content creator, entrepreneur, business owner, or publisher, Google AdSense helps you to earn money by displaying high-quality, relevant ads from trusted advertisers on your websites and content. You can customize where and who sees the ads you want to display, while AdSense provides formats tailored to your needs and content, whether you're an online store, content-based site, or gaming site. Only the highest paying ads will be published on your sites, and you can boost your revenue by tapping into a large network of online advertisers who bid for your ad space. You can also simplify ad placement with high-level controls, or personalized settings to suit your specific requirements, like excluded areas and ad categories that you'd like to block. Creating great content takes time. Making it profitable shouldn't. To sign up for Google AdSense, visit the link goo.gle/circle live.
You can actually hear more from the Google AdSense team at Circle Day, one of our sponsors, and they're going to be giving a presentation on that. Now, let's get into our main interview. We know that everyone is adapting to the rapidly changing landscape that is online search. You've seen the changes, you've read the blogs, you've seen your traffic spike or dive or do all sorts of wild things. It's been a bumpy road for some of you. To help guide the way, we wanted to bring on someone who not only has the experience, but can explain in simple terms what's going on. Here's our interview with Becca Harpain of Inside the Square. I want to start with this question. On your podcast in April, you revealed that overnight you lost a whole bunch of search traffic because some changes made to search. What happened and how did you recover?
Oh man, I am definitely still on the road to recovery. I will say that pleasantly, a lot of my metrics are tracking back up, and our wonderful community has supported me through every single step of the process of redesigning and restructuring the way I share my content with the world. So that's been awesome. But what happened? The jury's still out because Google can be really secretive about all the things that go into that algorithm. But from what I've heard with the experts I consulted with and the research that I did, is that a lot of the content on my site got knocked down as spam or AI generated content because of some keyword density issues and because everything I talk about is Squarespace. It's Squarespace all the time. And I don't have a Squarespace domain. It was a personal domain. So Google got a little nervous and said, I don't know if this stuff is as legitimate as it was in the past. Now, it was terrible for my website traffic. It was a big dip, but I will say it was quite ironic because my videos ended up doing so much better than they've done in the past. It put my YouTube channel on a completely different trajectory because at that point, AI video models weren't really out there replicating humans as well as they do today. So it was really easy to see that all my video content was me. It was a real person sharing these tips and tricks for how to customize Squarespace and make it uniquely yours. So while Google decided that my content wasn't as stellar as it used to think and started pushing me further down the list, my videos came through for me, and so did our community. So I'm starting to recover.
In that same episode, you said that losing that site traffic was kind of isolating. I'm curious kind of what that support was that you found from the community, what that looked like.
Luckily, we have such a strong community here inside Squarespace that when this happened, I reached out to some of the other bloggers and people who talk about the same topics I do and asked them what they were seeing. I asked them for their feedback. I asked them for their thoughts, and I partnered up with a few of them. We did some collaborative episodes for Something Useful with Christy and Will. That was wonderful to connect with them. I got to partner up with some other people to just promote my content in general. And it was really cool to see such an outpouring of support from the community to make sure that even if my blog wasn't ranking as high as it was before, Inside the Square was not going to disappear.
You're never going to disappear. Inside the Square is forever. Yeah, I mean, I think in moments like those in business, you've been in business for a while, is it not true that sometimes in the darkest moments you find an unexpected light?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel a lot more resilient than I did before. And I will say the bright side of this was it definitely made me more confident that I'm doing the right thing, that the content I'm creating and the support I'm putting out there for our wonderful Squarespace community is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because although it felt defeating in the moment, and I was worried, oh my gosh, am I going to have to get a job at my local bowling alley? Which wouldn't be bad. I love bowling. But I was a little worried I was going to have to find a real job for a little bit. And then I very quickly realized that what it inspired me to do was be more creative and find different ways to share what I have with the people who need it the most. It really kind of reignited that startup fire that I had when I first started sharing tutorials years and years ago. So it did help reinvigorate the joy that I love to bring to the business that I have today.
Totally, totally. And the bowling alley will always be there for you.
Yep, especially on Tuesday. They do $2 Tuesdays, and I've been almost every week this year. I love it.
I also want to point to the other positive that you mentioned in that episode, which is that you actually, in the process of doing this, were able to increase some of your rankings. How did that happen?
Yeah, that was a really interesting thing. I did notice that some of the content I was actually able to shift things around the focus of my core pages. If you will, for a second, let's take a minute and visualize here. And if you think about the way that keyword structures and website search works, we basically have really long tail keywords or words that are very lengthy in detail, very specific queries that people will look up. And those can all be related to these hub keywords, this core central aspect of a site or of site content. For example, I have maybe 50 different tutorials about something specific to do with the mobile version of Squarespace. All of that fits into the hub of mobile. So what I did on my website, when I just redesigned the whole thing, was I created a series of these hub pages that got into the details behind what that one specific topic was. Then you could branch out into some of the fun tutorials and get really specific. But I ended up making my website a central information hub with my perspective and my take on one core concept or core aspect of Squarespace. Those started doing really well. So that was pretty interesting to see. And fun fact, that's what AI started to love. So that part was really cool too.
Mm. For those who aren't as familiar with AI showing up in search, how would you kind of explain the difference between what maybe search wanted to see before and what AI search wants to see now?
So it's really interesting to see how it's evolving. I think when AI first came out, a lot of us still treated it like Google. We had one main question and we'd ask that question, or we'd even throw keywords in it, just like we would before when we were using a Google search. But it actually started becoming a lot more about the context of what you're asking. We weren't looking for a list of the top 10 things we could do or the top related resources. We were looking for the one core answer. And it was interesting because I feel like SEO is all about being clicked. Search engines, they index everything and they give us that list of priorities for us to scroll through and make the decision. But AI optimization is about being quoted. They prioritize clarity and context-rich text, and they want to make sure that they're promoting the one core answer to something. So it kind of reversed the way that we used to think about getting our content in front of people. And it no longer became about getting the clicks, but it became about providing the answers as clearly and concisely and contextually as possible.
Do you think that there's still value in continuing to optimize for SEO as it has been, or are you all eggs in the basket going in on AI search optimization?
So I do think that SEO does have value for specific types of businesses. Definitely for local businesses. I'm not going to go to ChatGPT and ask it for the best brunch thoughts in Portland. That's what I'm going to Google for. And I'm going to hop on those reviews and check things out on Google Maps for sure. But I will say that originally, when AI first was created and started giving us these answers, they were built on the back of Bing's search engine database. Not a lot of people know this. ChatGPT specifically was built on Bing's search engine database, so it had information to start to pull from. That's how it started. But it very quickly, with such massive adoption around the world, it very quickly started building its own database and getting its own information. Things like keyword tracking, backlink chasing, even competition. That's all irrelevant now. Those metrics that we used to focus on for SEO, they really don't matter. It's no longer about outranking others or getting the highest spot for anything. It is now so much more about the quality of the content. So optimizing your site, it's still about making sure that your site appeals and answers the question. We're just doing a little bit differently. So the core of SEO, it's still there, but a lot of those metrics that we used to care about are completely irrelevant. So I think the standard practice of search engine optimization and making sure people find the content and the content really speaks to them, that's still there. But just about everything doesn't matter anymore.
Have you learned any major lessons that feel familiar to you from the years that you put into trying to learn SEO years ago when that was first starting?
Yeah, I think simplicity is a big part of it. A lot of us, when we get passionate about a topic, we like to be long winded. And so, fun fact that not a lot of people listening might be aware of. When I first got started in what I call my first corporate job, this was way back in 2007. I worked for what was then a very small software company. They gave me a list of 10 keywords and said, we want to rank on Google for these 10 keywords. And I was like, career, let's do this. So I started researching everything I could about search engine optimization and paid search and PPC management and all of this stuff. I ended up making that my career for a solid, I think I worked there for about 8 years. And it's so interesting because some of the core principles we started with back then are now being used by AI today. And again, that's the quality of the content that you're putting out there. It's not about keyword stuffing. Again, it's not about backlinks, and it's not even about competition anymore. But when you have the ability to summarize information well, to provide something concise, to really give that information in the best packaged way possible that clearly explains it, that's what AI wants. And it's wild to me because that was almost 20 years ago. And that makes me feel really old saying that out loud, you guys. But way back in the day, those older tactics for SEO, a lot of the metrics and details are pretty much gone, but the core principles still matter for AI.
One of the things that I've heard from our own internal SEO experts is that people can't give up on the traditional SEO. That like that's one misconception, is that they're, sort of focusing, putting all their eggs in, as you say, on AI. What are some other things that you think are really valuable from the knowledge that you already gained from SEO?
Something that really set my content apart when I first got started was making sure that the titles of my videos directly addressed questions. Instead of telling someone how to change the background color property on a hover state, I would say something like how to change the color of your button on a hover. I would use the terminology that people use, making sure that my content sounded the way that someone would describe it. I tried to avoid being overly technical and being really specific, using the language that my audience would use. And that kind of content is exactly what AI wants as well. So that's an old school SEO tactic that I think really still applies today, even more than it used to. Being as clear and as casual, I could say, as possible, making sure that your content is really written for people, not for search engines and not for AI engines. It's really written for other humans.
With SEO, obviously there was the idea of like, you want to rank so someone clicks and then you have something like a lead magnet where they put their email in. Mm-hmm. Now you search a question, the blurb comes up at the top and it's like, here's your answer. How are we still capturing people's intent and interest to be able to put them into a sales funnel?
I have actually had a great conversation with another Squarespacer that I truly admire, Christine Neal. She and I were chatting over coffee the other day, and she was sharing that she and I both agreed the PDF lead magnet concept, it's on the way out. We need to find new and creative ways to share content. Download this PDF. That's just not going to cut it anymore. I don't know what the future looks like, but I'm definitely excited about exploring different app ideas and helpful ways to get content to people that can truly educate them on what I'm trying to teach and share information with them. But I think PDFs are pretty much, they've seen their time. I think they're about done.
I love that you just referenced Christine as if this was also AI like content. You're like, and my expert friend Christine, modeling it perfectly.
The bots are listening.
Yeah, it's such a great part of this community that you guys know. We as Circle members, it is so fun to just be able to chat and collaborate with people on a regular basis. I really do feel like I have coworkers just around the world that I get to chat with, especially when things like this come up. When my website loses rank, I reached out to Will and to Chris, and I'm like, are you guys seeing a decrease in traffic? Because they teach a lot about customization too. I'm like, guys, we got to talk. What's going on here? And it's so cool to have that support from our community.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason that we do this show, to be honest. Circle Live, I care less about if they listen to us and more about them listening to you and meeting each other in the chat and seeing you as a model for somebody who's a connector and then connecting with each other. So that's so much more important to me than our presence here.
And isn't it just exciting, Sam, like really being about connection and seeing that the internet is starting to trend that way? The content we create is more about connecting and collaborating and supporting each other than outranking each other. I think it's such a cool transition. I'm excited to be a part of whatever the heck happens next in this AI powered future.
It seems like there are some things that AI can't do. I think we've probably all experienced that. You go to ask a question, you're like, I know for a fact that's wrong. But I'm curious if there's anything that you don't want AI to do. It seems like, obviously, we're very pro partnership with AI or partnership with the community. What would you not want AI to take on?
I definitely don't want AI to email people for me. Those inbox management things kind of freak me out a little bit. I don't want AI to just send something off without me having a chance to review it and really make sure it has my tone of voice and my content. And I don't want AI to replace the design aspect. I don't want AI to replace the creativity that we have. I want to use it as a tool and a resource, maybe even for inspiration. But I've seen plenty of fun videos on the internet where people try to get AI to recreate a logo or redesign a hero banner section for a website. And it just doesn't look quite right. There's that little human element that's missing. So I don't want to see AI replace creativity.
It's a collaborator. It's not a personal assistant.
Is that the theme of today? Collaboration.
Collaboration.
That's what we're going to go with.
Yeah. So now that you've fixed your AIO problem, your SAO problem, you're ranking higher than you were before, you're connected to your community in a new way, how are you preparing yourself for the next big change?
That is a great thing to be thinking about. As business owners, we always need to be forward thinking. I will say I've had some good chats with friends about how the trends in search are going to be changing the content I create for Inside the Square. I have a lot of problem solution based quick tutorial content, and that's really the core of my business and what it's been built on. But I've started to realize that explaining more concepts is going to be something my community needs. So I might be pulling away from doing direct, specific one-on-one individual problem solving tutorials and moving more into concept overviews, where rather than saying how to change the font style for your blog post pagination, I'm going to talk about the 7-point checklist that you should run a blog post through to make sure it shows up in search and in AI. Now, all of this stuff is going to be happening in 2026. My brain is already there in Q1 of 2026 because I am working on something here inside the Square that's pretty exciting. I'm working on growing my brand new team member. We've got a little girl due in Q4 of this year. So I'm actually taking maternity leave, my self-funded maternity leave, an actual break in my business for the first time in like 6 years. And I'm definitely nervous about it, but it's going to give me a chance to really think about how I want to come back strong in 2026. What is my business going to look like? How am I going to share this content? And the idea of sharing more concepts is really exciting for me. But I will say to everyone who I interact with regularly from Inside the Square, I have some exciting things planned for you while I'm gone. Again, collaborations and partnerships with cool Squarespace members out there. Going to do some channel takeovers, going to do some exciting stuff. So even though I'm going to be a little busy with midnight feedings and diaper changes, we're definitely going to have some cool community content still coming out of Inside the Square.
Congratulations, Becca. And, no matter how difficult this next stage of your life is going to be, it can't be any worse than working with a terrible client.
I would totally agree. No revisions on this one.
No revisions. No, you can't. You can't. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, no, well-deserved break, and congratulations.
Thank you. I'm definitely excited. It'll be a new chapter of life and a new chapter of Inside the Square. And let this be a friendly reminder to all of my friends and fans out there. It's just for a couple of months. I'm going to be back in 2026 with new ideas and more exciting content to share. But again, our wonderful community is stepping up, and I've got quite a few people I've reached out to for some channel takeovers and some fun content to share while I'm gone.
That's so exciting.
100%.
What an honor for her to announce that on this show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she could have gone on any morning show, and she chose Circle Live. That just makes me feel good.
She wanted to share with her family.
This is there's so much great info in that interview. I don't know. Anything to add, having thought about it and watched it again?
I feel like there's so much talk about AI swirling around that it was like so helpful, as I imagine everyone who's tuning in today feels, to just be able to sit down and like have an expert unpack it for me and be able to understand the differences, especially between AI and SEO. Frankly, I'm not sure I really ever like got a grip on SEO, so I'm grateful to be more on the cutting edge of this one.
Audience, keep those Q's coming for the A's. You should also know that the complete interview with Becca was about twice as long. And because there's so much other good stuff in there, as we're talking about, we will be releasing the complete interview with Becca tomorrow on our YouTube page, the Squarespace Circle YouTube channel. To get notified when that's available, go to the Squarespace Circle YouTube channel right now and subscribe.
Many content creators and website owners experience inappropriate and off-brand ads appearing on their site. With Google AdSense, they can better manage their ads themselves and have more control over the type of ads that appear next to their content. For example, a vegan blog can block all adverts for meat products and instead place complimentary adverts on their site. AdSense allows content creators to customize the placement, amount, and layout of ads on their website, which is really important as there is often a lot going on their pages to begin with. With the automation feature, content creators can be hands-off while trusting that the ads being shown are not only making them money, but are actually useful to their audience. To learn more, visit the link goo.gle/circle live.
We are back. And we have a special guest joining us here live. Becca, you found us okay?
Hi, everybody. I did. You're here. This is fun. I've been loving this chat.
This is so much fun. And they've got such an active chat right now. I don't want to waste any time. Viewers, please keep those questions coming for our guest. Sarah, what questions are we seeing in the chat right now?
Yeah, really long list, so we'll just dive right in. Question from Miko, who says, it's interesting that you say that backlinks, etc., for SEO aren't important moving forward, but isn't it unlikely that a poorly ranking website will be selected by AI as having the definitive answer to any given question? In other words, isn't SEO still important in terms of increasing the likelihood that your website will even be on the radar for ChatGPT?
So I got to kick this off by letting people know a little behind the scenes. Miko asks the best questions. I have been in meetings with her for like over a year on our Circle Leaders calls, and she always brings to the table the absolute best questions. I'm so glad you brought this up. And originally, when AI answers and when all of the content that AI was generating was truly based on what it found through Bing's database, at least ChatGPT was, and Google's Gemini was based on Google's database, that information was definitely heavily influenced by SEO and SEO rank. But over time, it started to replace it. And I want you to think back to maybe 3 years ago when you're searching something on Google and you have to click through the first link, the second link, the third link, the fourth link. You're not finding exactly what you need. What AI has been learning is, do those responses get thumbs up or thumbs down? Is the content that it's collecting and the sources that it's citing, is that giving information that genuinely helps people? Or is it just regurgitating content? Are these content farms that have taken over the internet going to take over AI? I think that the answer is no. I think that AI does a much better job of taking our feedback and learning what to rank. But here's the tricky part. Some of the tactics that we use for SEO definitely still apply. But here in this future world of an AI-driven answers and answer engine optimization or generative engine optimization, whatever acronym you want to use, what we really need to focus on, what really needs to come from AI is being cited as the source. Don't just feed the machine your information. Make sure that the machine recognizes the information you're giving has even more to tell them. So trying to get yourself just listed by AI as a source is the priority, and it needs just a little bit more effort than what we used to do for SEO. The things have changed just a little bit. But again, SEO tactics that worked back in the day definitely helped us rank, but AI is learning faster than any of the SEO models or search engine models learned before, because it has that interactive feedback and it's able to analyze that. And again, I love to say this, don't feed the machine, get cited as the source. You want to make sure that you're not just training AI to understand what you know and share that perspective. What you want to do is train AI to send people back to you. I'm getting emails almost every single week with screenshots of people saying like, hey, AI recommended your video. AI sent me to your site. And that's the kind of optimization that you want to focus on.
I love that. And cool that you're getting that community feedback
Oh
loop.
my gosh. Makes
just
my
wanna hop
day.
in
The
really
first time one came through, I was so excited.
All right, question. Kind of comment from Lewis, question from Suzanne. I'm going to merge them together.
Okay.
Suzanne's question says, what do you suggest to replace the PDF? You talked about, I think in the answer to the question about lead magnets. Suzanne says, I have a client that needs very technical info that historically she's put into a PDF.
As a person who at one point, I had over 25 free PDFs available as lead magnets on my website. It was so many. But as a person who relied heavily on PDFs, what I will share that I see as the future of lead magnet content and sharing technical content is interactive content. Personally, a majority of my PDFs have been transferred to Notion. When I have them in Notion, people are able to check out videos, they're able to check out audio, they're able to click to copy code. There's so many more interactive elements that I can add there. I've also seen people build their own web apps through vibe coding, where basically you describe what you want it to do and it is created. And there are programs out there like Canva that can help you create a very simple app that matches your own content and builds it for you so you have an interactive element to give to the people that sign up for your lead magnets. I've also been using Lovable for this a lot. This has been a really fun thing. I actually made something not too long ago on Lovable. I'm going to share a link here in the chat, or you can check it out at insidethesquare.co/AIO. AIO. It's AI optimization. I'm having a little brain moment there. But anyway, what I created was this 7-point scorecard that I had was just a massive PDF. And I thought, instead of sharing the PDF, how about I train AI to rank content on that 7-point scorecard? How do I make this an interactive element? So for everyone that is still creating PDFs and thinking you can do just a little bit more, think about how to make it interactive. Again, Notion is great. Canva is great, Lovable is great, but something that people can work with rather than just download and read could be very helpful.
So cool to see where this technology is evolving on so many different services. All right. Annalisa says, does having multiple channels or outlets for exposure and income, think websites, blog articles, online stores, make you more resilient to changes in AI search results, or does it cause a lot of clutter? Would connecting accounts and links make it more likely for you to show up in results?
Ooh, I love this question. I definitely feel like the reason my business is still existing today and I'm not working at that bowling alley is because I focus so much on building my business on YouTube as well as on my website. I needed to have different ways to reach people. And when people weren't able to find my content by looking for it directly online, they could still find it in other places they were looking. So I don't think you need to be everywhere. I think having too many moving parts will definitely make it very difficult to have a successful business, at least a very quickly growing successful business. From my experience, too many moving parts makes it really difficult. But if you can focus on where your audience is, from my perspective, I needed to teach people something that was a lot more visual than it was technical. There's plenty of technical documentation out there about how to customize websites with code, but to show people the visuals of what that code would do specifically to Squarespace, I needed video. I needed to show people on YouTube. So having that as a secondary main channel for my business was really, really helpful in not only growing my business, but staying afloat while the world changed as we shifted to our AI era.
That's awesome. Fabrizio says, can you talk a bit more about local SEO?
Oh man, such a good question. That is a deep topic. And unfortunately, I don't have a significant amount of experience with that. I only have a handful of local SEO clients, but I want to encourage you to hop into the forum and ask about that because there are so many local SEO experts in our community. And I'm sure they have plenty of PDFs and interactive lead magnets for you to check out to give you more information on it. I would definitely recommend reaching out to those experts in the Circle community.
Ugh, I love when it feels like we planted a response, but we didn't. The forum's just that good.
It is just that good.
All right. Jessica says, maybe it's just me, but the move from SEO to AI-driven search just doesn't feel that much different to me, especially if your focus has always been making your content/copy and keywords super clear-cut, accessible, and easy for the reader. Am I missing something? Just want to make sure I'm not out of the loop. Thanks.
I'm just going to ask you, if 30 years ago you had invested in an ad in the yellow pages, would you do that today? So if 5 years ago you would have invested time in SEO efforts, would you switch that up and maybe consider AI as the new adventure, the new avenue there? Just going to throw that out there. Thinking a little bit more about kind of future pacing where people are and where they're getting their information and making sure you show up there. That's a priority for my online business. So that's why I'm kind of focused on that area right now.
Cool. I think Zach has a question about the quantity block. Should we take that to the forum? That's from our Release Notes Live.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
All right, Zach, we will take your questions about the quantity block to the forum. All right, Katie says, where can I get a crash course on optimizing a Squarespace site for AIO? I have a project lead looking for this as an area for their site that they want to heavily invest in.
Check out my new interactive lead magnet there. That is based on the research that I've done for InsideTheSquare and my own blog. I found that there are 7 crucial areas that a website can really focus on to help improve being cited by AI, not just showing up and feeding the machine your own content, but actually making sure it links back to you. I shared a link to that in the chat. Again, that's the AIO checklist, but I definitely recommend checking that out. I vibe coded that over a weekend. It's totally free. There's no email to sign up or anything. You just pop a URL in there and it's going to give you insight and advice on what it thinks you should do for the next steps of optimizing for AI. So definitely check it out. It was really fun. And feel free to send me an email with some feedback. Let me know what you think of it. It's kind of the first time I've vibe coded a web app myself, and I had a great time. But again, nothing to sign up. It just kind of exists out there on the internet for us to play around with Squarespacers. So let me know what you think.
I love that. So generous and so cool that you could build that in just a weekend. Do we have time for a few more questions?
We have time for a few more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question for Susan. Oh, sorry, from Susan. One question for Becca is what to do about AI searchability for clients such as professional publishing authors whose business is the sale of copyrighted content and whose websites contain a mix of material that is copyrighted and website only content. How do you kind of like navigate the balance of that?
Oh, that is such a good technical question. I would think about it from the aspect of the clients that they're trying to work with, the people that want to hire them for their services, the main reason why their content exists. What are they educating people about? What's the one thing that they wish someone would know before they reached out to work with them? And how can you structure and create content around that? Now, AI absolutely loves pull quotes. It loves summaries. It loves FAQs, but definitely keeping the end client in mind would be how I would start to approach that with the client. The copyright stuff is tricky too, but there are some fun features and some fun things that we can do using code to block certain content from being pulled by AI. So if you're concerned about sharing copywritten content on your site, there are different things that you can do to protect it. I'd recommend hopping into ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude and getting a little bit of advice on that for sure. But I would say focus on creating content that has that core value client in mind at the very end there. What is the content that you can focus on teaching, and how can you develop more website content around that?
You touched on this a little bit, so I want to kind of double click into that. Question from Elizabeth. Should we turn off sharing our website content with AI for training? Can you just explain the difference between optimizing your website for AI and then your website being used in AI, I guess?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. There are plenty of people out there who do not want AI scraping their content. And I definitely understand it. A lot of creatives, a lot of artists, a lot of people that want to make sure that bots don't take the content that they've created and use it for answers. And that is totally a fine approach. There's a setting inside Squarespace where you can add a special robots.txt file to your website, just one click of a button, and AI won't be able to index it at all. Little side note about that. If it had already been live, it could have been indexed in the past. It can't retroactively remove stuff from a database, but it can prevent it in the future. So if that's the road you want to go, you totally have that option out there. But again, I like to focus on the content I want to share with people to help train the world on the information that I know. Now, I try to optimize content so that AI isn't just taking what I have to say and learning it, but it's sharing what I have to say as a source answer. There's a little bit of a difference there. There's training AI with AI optimization, and then there's training AI to cite you with generative engine optimization.
Good nuance there. One last question. Great. Aaron says, why did you decide to use Notion versus building those pages that you talked about for the swapping over from the PDFs instead of putting those on your own website as password protected or setting them up on your website in some other way?
Yeah, that's a great question, Aaron. And to be honest, I'm going to get like a little technical here. I'll try not to speak too fast, but I get really excited about this. So a lot of the lead magnets I've created are for building my email list so I can establish communication with different people that want to learn things from me. So to do that, we usually have the login with your email and access the content. Now, I could have just opened up the floodgates and maybe created a member area in my Squarespace website that was free. And then inside that member area, I had all of these different pages. But that could be a little overwhelming. Someone that wants to learn about gradients might not care about font and text properties. Like when we're reaching the 25 PDF level, that member area could have been an overwhelming mess right out of the gate. So what I decided to do was put it on Notion because you can access it with one click. Now, I didn't want this content to be available just for free out there. This was the business exchange of you send me your email or submit your email address, I send you the thing, and we start the flow of communication together. But if I didn't want it indexed by the world and didn't want it out there, I would have had to set up exactly what you said, password protected. And I'm here to tell you, after being in business for myself for over 5 years, the more steps that people have to take, the less likely they are to do them. And the amount of people that will email me and reply to an email saying, how do I access the lead magnet? When inside the email says, here's a button to access your lead magnet, it's ridiculous. People are definitely struggle with anything that hinders their progress there. So a password is just one more step that would stop them from getting to that lead magnet. And I didn't want to throw that monkey wrench into the process. So again, we're talking about capturing leads here and starting the flow of communication. So to do that, I focused on a lead magnet I could deliver as a quick link that wasn't on my website, so it wouldn't be indexed, but it would still be easy to access through that link.
Awesome.
Great. Becca Harpain, you are a human lead magnet. You have so many fans in the chat. You bring just so much good knowledge. Thank you for helping us to find ourselves today.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I'm just so honored to be back here on Circle Live hanging out with you guys. I love living in the chat when I'm not the one that's up on stage, but oh my gosh, being up here is such an honor. So thank you guys for the opportunity to share my story about this. And if you have any questions about what we talked about today, my inbox is always open. hello@InsideTheSquare.co. Send me an email. Might take me a day to get back if all of you send me an email, but please feel free to hop in there and reach out anytime. I'd love to chat.
So generous.
What a generous offer. And because people might not know, joining Circle Day this year means you're going to get to see a lot more of Becca. Thanks, Becca. Again, congrats on your new coworker.
Thanks. She's been kicking a little bit while we've chatted. It's been a lot of fun.
I'm a big fan of AI optimization already.
Can't wait to see you in the after party and at Circle Day online. That's all for today's show. Thanks for joining us live. Our next show is in October. Next time around, we will be talking about community catch-up, revisiting top moments and takeaways from the year so far. You can sign up for that next episode now.
And we loved having you in the chat today, and we'd love to see you back in the chat at Circle Day and at World Loop.
Until next Circle Live, this is Sam Z.
And I'm Sarah G.
Reminding you, an image block is worth 1,000 words.
Bye, everybody.